I spent my 11 years to learn game development, and this is my story how I escaped from going to jail and became the world's most successful game designer. Have fun! Probably I should start with when I start to make games, but I really want to talk about myself, so... Computers are kinda special to me. Ever since I could remember, I always loved and obsessed with computers. Actually, I got my first computer when I was 4 years old. I would love to say my role model in my childhood was Hideo Kojima, but it was Kevin Mitnick, so maybe you can see where everything screwed up. Also, while making this video, I wonder what my mom thinks about my childhood, so I called her to ask her opinions.
Biggest regret of my fucking entire life.
I am not sure if she replied the answer for me or my first computer, but I'm glad she's happy about it. You won't surprise, but in light of my role model, before than GameDev, I was into being a hacker. I mean, it was fun to get Facebook credentials of your crush in elementary school, right? Actually, I got a story about it. Just as I say, I was in elementary school in those days and I decided to hack girlfriend of my best friend. But I don't want you to think about it like I'm a jerk who hacked his best friend's girlfriend, because it was my best friend who wanted me to hack her anyway, and he already bought me some sausage toast in return. So I mean, to be honest, I didn't know too much thing about programming in those days. So basically I just create a blogspot page which you can vote your boyfriend or whatever, but before you vote, you have to enter your Facebook credentials into blogspot page. So I still can't understand why someone enter her credentials into a blogspot page. That is just stupid. However, I sent the blogspot page to her and say, hey, me and your boyfriend working on a very important project. Can you just help him and enter your credentials into this non-suspicious blogspot page? Also, I don't want to seem like pushing too hard, but I mean, I can give you half of my sausage toast. Always works. She entered her credentials. Actually, she entered two different accounts, which one of them belongs to my crush, but that's another story. Luckily, before I went to go jail, I realized that I loved playing games. And I guess someday I should have said, I can do better than that. So I decided to use Game Maker Studio for my first game because I had already some knowledge about it. The main idea of my first game was the player can transform into a laser. Also, player can use these mechanics to solve some puzzles or smashing the enemies. By the way, as you notice, I don't have any footage of this game. Nonetheless, I wanted to talk about this game because this is my very first spatial game. After making my first project, I love the idea of creating my own games. Though I still want to be a hacker, but slowly I start to make more games. Also, while I use the Game Maker Studio, I always feel the lack of the coding, so this time I decided to use a different game engine. At this point I met with Unity and loved it. Considering that I cheated several times with Unreal Engine. Whatever, I still love Unity. But there was one problem. I didn't know how to use Unity, just like the other souls who starts to learn game development. And now, maybe you are just thinking, you found the brush case, right? Rest in peace. And my answer is to this, no! I was young and I didn't know the existence of the English. After spending 3 years of my precious life in the lack of the knowledge and some good resources, finally I will be able to make my dream game. I don't want to say after 3 years of development I did this, but I mean, I did this. Okay, let me explain the game. This is an endless runner which you have to use your flashlight to see obstacles. Actually, that's all. As you see, everything is black in the game, and if I make this game now, probably I should use some color palette. But the young me probably thought, if there are no light, everything should be black, right? Because we are using a flashlight, and in the real life, if there are no light, everything is black. Actually, young me have a point though. And I don't know why, but a random idiot says, why we don't make the space case just works half of the time? Actually, it works sometimes, that's a positive. So, my total score for the game, 2 out of 10. The applied skill is very low and I really can't be proud of with this game. But, to be honest, 3 years is really not enough for that kind of games, right? Next game is Slender version 2, aka the fucking clone of the Slender the 8 page. Okay, this game is kinda special to me and probably it's my favorite game. It's because this is the first time I really seen some emotions on the player's face. They are fear, despair, disgust and hatred most of the time towards me, but I love those feelings and I love to see them on the player's face.
Bir şey yapmayacağım kardeş. Hadi buna...
Whenever I see that clip, I just feel happy and it's something like I found my purpose of life and this is the first time I feel like a game designer. I mean, being a nightmare person and seeing the tears on their face just makes me want me to do more games. Whatever, let's back to the game. I finally be able to understand what the meaning of being a game designer. However, in a game design perspective, I still can say this is a good game. First of all, player doesn't know how much papers he collect and it is very important because we have to create a compelling environment for the player and player actually has to see his progress, how close was he. With this way, we can provide longer and more suffering experience for the player. By the way, no matter how many cards the player collects, he will still die at the end, so I wish I had added some UI for the game. Also, there are still no color palettes for the game. If it was now, I would probably prefer a more striking color design. My final score for the game, 6 out of 10. It has a great point because it causes emotions on the player, though it's a bad game. And there are many of optimization problems in the game, but if you have RTX it won't be a problem, I guess. Okay, so the next game is Fuck You Gravity, or according to global game jam naming conventions, Stupid Gravity. We made this game for Global Game Jam and it was my first team project. Also, I didn't know I had talent about writing narratives. This is a game about an ice cream man who had a puberty crisis and left his house due to find some cocaine. It's cold. And I can remember while work on this game, a lot of time we inspired by the Celeste, and when I say inspire I meant yoink. About the team side, we had a great time on this project, even we want to make more games, but the luck of the devil, I don't know how, but I flirted with the same girl with my artist, and things didn't go too well. Summary of this project, if we decide to remove my golden narrative, it is nothing more than an ordinary platformer game. And I just remembered there are one more important issue about the game. Can you see those little witches in the screen? They are actually important. They give an extra jump at there, and if you fail to jump after collecting one of them, it won't regenerate, so player have to restart all the game. And maybe you can add something like, hey, you're making games like 7 or 8 years, how the fuck you can't code something like that? First of all, fuck you, and the second one, a little bit more complicated than that. The game jam organized in a university and in that university all toilets was broken. Frankly speaking, my artist came and says, hey Dennis, I know you and you're a real talented guy and also you made a lot of cool stuff in here, but you really can't make a regeneration system, really? And I said, I didn't shit for 2 days. And I don't think so I was the only person who suffered by that because I was able to see exponential motivation drops on other designers' face. Actually, it's fun to watch. So review of the game, art was better if you compare the art with my old games because I didn't make the art this time. And the girl's story actually was interesting, so my total score for the game, 4 out of 10. That was a more successful game in a design perspective, however, there was no emotions in this game, so I think it's not a that good game. The next game in the line is Friction. In those days, I was working with mobile game companies and I was oversaturated by the ideas of them. So I just think I have a lot of experience now and finally I can be able to make my dream game. And this way the Friction has born. I always love the hard and compelling games, so this time I decided to make a game that I want to play. And obviously the game idea was not that original, however, I believe I made a very successful job in this game. Compared to my old games, this time game actually has a good movement mechanics, and it was a bigger game. I mean, there was a different kind of enemies, different kind of weapons, and some kind of different maps. But there was a one problem. I always thought like, Okay, I can add some new weapons, some new enemies, but every time I decide to add something new, it just goes more complicated. That was so normal because I didn't know anything about the solid principles. I have to admit, the game had a potential, but after adding something more and more, the game just started to turn into a garbage. So, the game project is just finished like that. My score for the game? 5 out of 10. I have to say it's still not that good as the Slender game, whatever I can say, it's a fun game. So, the next game is... Wait, actually the next game don't have a name, but I just named it now. It is the fucking hentai for the streamers. It is brutal, toxic as your ex relationship, and what can I say, it is perfect. And I have to say, there was other games before than that game, but I start to feel hungry, so let's just skip those games. The main idea is, it just seems like an ordinary horror game, but when you click the computer it just turns into a fucking hentai. So it is a perfect weapon for the streamers, it has a fear, the jump scares and obviously mature content. But for some reason I can't show all content of the game. I mean, what kind of idiot suspend in the first video, right? My total score for the game, 10 out of 10. Does it have a color palette? Fuck you, who needs a color palette? And also you can open the game on your browser, that's way a streamer easily can open the game. Even it might be a good idea to send this game to other streamers and watch them while they play the game. At the final, my current game project. A little tip, the game is not about torturing your waifus. As I say, this is my current project and I'm still working on it. After making a lot of games, I had tons of experience about designing games, and 2 of them is very important for me. One is making games actually cause emotions on the player, and the second is design games whichever you want to play. What means of those to me, my game should be a mechanic based game rather than a narrative based game, because I know myself and I always love the compelling games which depends on the good game mechanics. So my intention for the game, 2D platformer because it's simple, bullet hell because I love the compelling games, and physics based because physics makes me nuts, and I believe I learned a lot of things by my old games. An example, rather than just creating enemies, weapons and some kind of different maps, I just started to build the fundamentals of the game. Also, one interesting question in my mind. I am not sure if it is the right approach, but just creating the game mechanics before the game narratives and actual the game. So if you have an idea about that, I encourage you to let me know in the comment section. But so far I can say I never felt that good before about my game mechanics. So I mean, this time I'm just a little bit proud about my game. Also this time, while I developed this game, I decided to create a YouTube channel because this hardly depends on game mechanics, and I thought it would be a great idea to take some feedbacks by players. So this is why I decided to create this YouTube channel. That was my first video and I hope you enjoyed while you watched it. Also because of this is my first video, I would love to see your opinions about it. Have a great time and let me see you in the next video.